Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eric Beans with Happy. Good evening. So tonight we're going to take a nerdy subject and we're going to make it non-nerdy, so that people will understand that may not be technical founders. There's two types of founders typically. There's your technical founder who can't sell, and then there's your non-technical founder who can do a lot of different things but doesn't do the actual programming. So this might be a little bit for the technical founders as well, but really this is a non-technical piece as to what microservices are, why we deploy them, why they're the hottest thing right now in technology, what the advantages are, and are there any disadvantages to microservice architecture. So diving right in, standard way to describe microservice architecture are independently deployed functions sitting behind an API that are loosely grouped together through a product, but can be called or acted in an independent way. Now, when I say functions, that's pretty broad, right? But let me give you an example. Let's say you're signing into a website and you put in your username and password. That's an individual function. So that's sign up. And that could easily be a microservice. So that could be an individual function that you pull into your product so that you don't have to go develop something from scratch that's used as a standard in pretty much every website in the world. So that would come with your authentication, your password reset, and all that other functionality that goes along with two-factor authentication, all the stuff that goes along with sign up that you take for granted. So rather than spending a month putting together sign up or more, depending on the size of your team, you would actually call that function from an API, and that could be one example of a microservice. Another one, video. So there's actually a lot of groups right now that allow the functionality that I'm using right now on here for live, for you to build your own app using the standard video functionality. So you would have a microservice for video. You would call that microservice. You would have to build that into everything else that your app would have. So you wouldn't just have open video, because then you'd be losing money. You'd have to build it into authentication, billing, how are you going to actually account for it? How are you going to charge for it? What other features are you going to have? Are you going to have the invite functions? Are you going to have chat through there? Are you going to have the ability to change backgrounds? Are you going to have the ability to edit? So anything else that you're going to build over on top of them would be part of your app. But that one piece of video could be an example of a microservice. So a microservice is an individual feature or function behind an API. And look at the API as just rather than the person who developed the microservice giving you access to all the code, the API is how you call the functionality, which is the code on the back end, and utilize that functionality for your own purposes. So in many cases, people will call in microservices and build their own website. It's called a UI in our world, but build their own web page for the functionality that they're calling in. So obviously, this is much faster than developing, right? This is a very quick, easy way to deploy highly functional components to your business in a rapid way without having to go spend the time, energy, effort, and money to redevelop something that a lot of other people have already done that's not going to give you a competitive advantage, so that you can focus on the aspects of your company that do give you a competitive advantage. So for people that are doing agile, and we've talked about this before, people that are trying to deploy quickly, monetize, get feedback from their customers, enhance, possibly rebuild once you're ready to actually go, or just keep enhancing and go on to the next thing. Microservices are huge. Anybody looking to white label, and it might not be officially called white label. In that case, you're rebranding, you're putting your skin over your own app. You might be building different components along with a white label, or along with the microservices. So it might not be a full white label. It might be your app rebranded. It's perfect for that. It's actually perfect for a lot of things. So the microservice architecture is the hottest thing right now for development, because for companies like I have, not only do you want people to be able to say, wow, Happy has 30 different microservices. I don't need 15 of them. 10 of them, I'd like to have, but we're not ready for. These 5 I could really use today. So that gives people the ability to utilize components from within Happy without having to have the whole thing and roll out, brand new product. They might have, Slack. They might have Dropbox. They might not want to switch to Slack Dropbox combination through Happy, even though there's a lot of advantages. It's changed. So maybe they'd want other components in there that we're building in for anything from super search to token mining to the actual what we'll call Rembrandt AI. There's going to be a bunch of different components in there of secret folders. Maybe they want secret folders component pulled into their other app. So a lot of that stuff will be available for other people to pull parts of Happy into their app, or Happy the shell will have all of our stuff, and you can actually pull other components from other apps from other microservice companies and products directly into Happy and use Happy as your brandable shell. So it really offers a lot of flexibility. The security is much better because all the code's behind the API. If you develop it properly, all your calls are pretty standardized. So you could have, certain queries and calls that you don't have to create 4 or 5 times, like customer lookup. You might have multiple components that are looking for customer data that are all calling the exact same API call for that particular data element. So you're not just doing looping repetitive calls, which ends up impacting performance. The deployment's much faster. Obviously, for our customers, it's going to be so much better to deal with customers that can get things up quickly and start making money quickly, as opposed to a standard integration piece, which can sometimes take months or years. When I got started doing ERP integration work, SAP, Oracle, some of these projects were never ending. They were designed never to end. It was designed to have a team of 10 at $80 an hour. This is back in the early 2000s. That worked forever to get these HR components and HRIS and your payroll and all that sort of accounts receivable, accounts payable. Next thing you know, you're 10 years out and there's better technology, but now you've spent so much money on this, you're stuck for life, even though you could get something better that uses microservices right away. So microservices do have a lot of advantages. They're highly maintainable. They're highly testable. They're very, very easy to integrate into all sorts of architectures. They're very flexible. They're almost immediately deployable. They're amazing. And this is why most companies that know what they're doing are building a microservice architecture. And the companies that are at the top of the food chain right now are a little bit stuck and have to really rebuild their whole product, their entire architecture in order to come up. So, when people are talking about, hey, Slack and Dropbox, they have these huge advantages. Yeah, they're billion-dollar companies. They have massive, massive development staffs, but they also have an existing product that wasn't built necessarily for what they're actually planning for in the future. So we have a massive advantage, and now we know what the market really needs, where the future is going, and we've been able to throw the dart and build ahead, whereas they're going to actually have to play catch up to us. And that's a beautiful thing. That's the joy of being a company that's smaller, agile, mobile, and nubile. All that bile, everything but bile being full of S. So we're excited. That's a little piece, hopefully from a non-technical person standpoint. You understand that microservices are just individual potential products or individual potential things that you use all the time, that as you're building your product out, you don't have to rebuild it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already there. Call it into your product, move on, and focus on your core competency and save yourself a lot of time, a lot of money, and start making money quicker. So that's it. I hope everybody has a great night. Be happy, stay happy, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.